By now most of us know about the massive scandal facing the investment firm that is alleged in fleecing $12 million USD from world-famous sprinter Usain Bolt. If this is your first time hearing, let's quickly give you a backstory. Usain Bolt, the 8-time Olympic gold medal winner, is a victim in an alleged multi-million-dollar investment fraud from one of the oldest and most trusted firms on his home island of Jamaica. Early reports stated that between 2012 and 2022, the retired sprinter had deposited upwards of $6 million and that investment had doubled. To his surprise, his account currently was emptied, without his knowledge, leaving $12,000 behind. Allegedly, it was his financial advisor who had perpetrated this massive fraud and has also defrauded a number of her clients, with Bolt losing the most. The advisor has already admitted to defrauding many clients, but noted Bolt was never one of them. Initially, most executives denied that Bolt was even an investor at their company. The biggest and worst news for the bad parties involved are that now the FBI is aiding in investigations, and we know what that means. This story is a lot more than meets the eye. Corruption to the highest regard, and every time there is a new report, it also seems that there are even more questions to be asked. Stay tuned, I will try to cover this entire story and provide the most up-to-date information. So let's start. Stocks and Securities Limited. SSL is a brokerage firm that was incorporated on the island of Jamaica in 1973 and commenced business in 1977. They claimed that their consistent increases in their clients' accounts had built a large client base locally and internationally, eventually going into more sectors of finance and investments, becoming a powerhouse in Jamaica. Eventually having accounts for the current Prime Minister and for many government bodies, in an attempt to alleviate and help the Jamaican citizens, or so it seemed. Now we have to ask ourselves a couple questions. The first set being: what happened, why it happened, who was affected and involved, how did it happen, and finally, where is the money? Why would such a reputable company allow themselves to be defrauded with no measures to stop it in place? For many years, SSL had reported to local markets and regulators that it was in a standing above average expectations, citing that they had a large portion of equity to offset any influxes in the market. That all changed in early 2023. Stories started being leaked of massive fraud happening at the company. Usain Bolt, along with other victims, reportedly lost between $20 to $30 million that mysteriously were withdrawn at the company. The major body involved in regulation was brought in, the Financial Services Commission, or FSC, and that's when the public had found out that the company was in bad standing for many years prior. It has been alleged that since 2017 the company has shown numerous red flags with the clients' funds, and has swept it under the rug. Even with those efforts, they had been reported to the regulators that sat by and did nothing. It has been released that the company's numbers were so far negative that the future seemed bleak for all of its victims. This led to the government being questioned, then also leading to the resignation of the CEO of FSC. To this day, no one knows why. The financial minister of Jamaica was also scrutinized. Revelations revealed that he had not checked into any reports made to him against the company from his time in his position to the current day. He attempted to save face by saying that he will make sure personally that everything is resolved, but to the victims it may be a little too late. At this point in time, the largest stakeholder, the founder and former CEO of the company, made claims that he has enough to handle any mishandling of funds at the company, and denies any involvement, but we will leave that for later. So let's recap. SSL took their clients' money, claimed they invested it in very profitable scenarios, and now from their books we see they are broke and there are allegations that it has stolen from a majority of their clients. Now we can only imagine that if the international icon was not involved, how easy and well handled this fraud would be swept under the rug, but we are grateful that is not the case. For now we will wrap up with the company and get back here later, so let's stick a pin. I know there is a name that you all have been waiting to hear, the main perpetrator, Bolt's personal wealth advisor, Miss Jean Ann Panton. She is the alleged mastermind of the entire fraud but denies involvement in Bolt's case, even after admitting committing fraud on other clients for alleged medical bills. Jean Ann Panton. She can be described as many things. Fraud mastermind is now at the top of that list. Client Relationship Manager, Jean Panton, details in her own words how and why she stole millions of dollars from her clients over several years. According to Panton, she's been working at SSL for 25 years. The confession statement by Jean Panton was given to private investigators hired by SSL when her fraudulent activities were discovered. She is still to give a statement to police and FID investigators. On the screen, you guys can pause and read everything that she states or can just listen to the summary of it. The Client Relationship Manager says as part of her work at SSL she interacted with customers and assisted with their deposits and payments. Jean Panton claims the scheme began in 2010 when her father was diagnosed with cancer. It was at this point she thought of borrowing from client accounts to cover her father's expenses. She says she had no idea how it would be paid back, but that it was her solution at the time. The father, according to the statement, passed away 3 years later. She also admits to borrowing from the client's accounts to cover the funeral expenses. Panton says her brother also attempted to kill their mother and was committed to a home and they had to further cover this expense. The statement suggests that her financial burden increased during the COVID-19 pandemic and income from SSL decreased. She was unable to repay the funds and continued to take sums for various purposes. She also admits to using various mechanisms to take money from clients. For example, she would edit a customer's email in an email thread, and this email would provide consent to sell their shares and disperse the payments to the respective bearer. She says she would also make a request to the asset management team for approval of the sale. The accounting team would then approve and make the payment. Once the shares are sold, the individual would request a check for the funds to be paid to one of 4 bearers. These bearers were independent of Stocks and Securities Limited. The bearers would be issued the checks by SSL and would visit the bank to collect the funds. The funds would be delivered to her, Jean Panton. According to the Client Relationship Manager, she stole from the accounts of nearly 40 people, amounts totaling just under US $900,000 or JM $138 million. She says she also stole JM $18 million from other accounts. She also claims that had the sums remained untouched, the total value of those accounts would be US $4 million, and over JM $90 million. The former SSL manager ends her statement by expressing remorse. This confession was signed on the 7th of January 2023 in the presence of a justice of the peace. Wow, is the first thought anyone can have. This is unbelievable, and that it is, but for now that is what has been confessed. As you can see, no mention of Bolt or his funds. Where is Usain Bolt's money?
Wow, that was a lot. I know everyone would like to hear more and see where it ends. But we have to save that for later videos. If you would like to see more of them as soon as possible, hit the like and subscribe button for us to see how much you guys want them. Until then, take care and be safe.